On August 2nd, 2004, Ricky Williams announced his retirement. The Dolphins went 9-7 in 2002, then 10-6 in 2003. This season, they went 4-12 without Williams. Their leading rusher was Sammy Morris, and their quarterback room had injury-prone veteran Jay Fielder, a player who was traded for a second-round pick AJ Feely, and at the time an unknown player that will mostly be remembered for his tenure in Houston, Sage Rosenfels. Using Madden NFL 2005, this will be my version of what if Ricky Williams never retired. On May 14, 2004, it was announced that Williams had tested positive for marijuana for a third time, which would have resulted in a 4-game suspension. Knowing that Ricky Williams will be their bell cow, Dave Wanstead couldn't risk having him get injured during meaningless games, sitting him during the preseason, but that doesn't mean an important battle wouldn't be happening. Fielder and Feely would be battling it out during these 4 games to see who would be the starter come the season opener. Fielder was the last quarterback for Miami to win a playoff game, and at this point in his career he was becoming washed up. Only one time in his career did he play all 16 games in a season, and even then his numbers weren't scaring anyone. Feely should have been entering the prime of his career. After going 4-1 in 2002 with the Eagles, the Dolphins traded a second-round pick for him in 2004. Feely didn't play a single snap in 2003. I don't know how the Eagles managed to get a second out of him. Another interesting position battle would be the backup running back spot. With a 4-game suspension for Williams, they need to be ready for someone to step up. Travis Miner's career so far as Williams' backup has been pretty good, averaging 4 yards a carry over the past 2 seasons. Leonard Henry is a third-string back with no NFL experience. The team went 3-1 during the preseason, and the quarterback battle was decided. AJ Feely did more than enough to prove that he's not ready to start. Fielder may be an average quarterback, but he's shown that he can be decent enough not to lose games for you. While at running back, neither Miner or Henry were able to differentiate from each other at the stat sheet. The season is now here, and it may be decided early for Miami during the first 4 games. Surprisingly, they managed to go 3-1 without Ricky Williams, losing only to the Titans and surviving against the Bengals, with the defense getting a pick 6 with less than a minute to go. Fielder managed to hold his own at the quarterback position, doing good enough to keep games close without making too many errors. While once again neither Miner or Henry can differentiate from one another on the stat sheet, alongside with the return of Williams, I believe they are going to have a lower snap count for him to keep him fresh for the late season games. The next 4 games were not as successful for Miami, going to the midway point at 5-3. Still good, but clearly not good enough to beat their division rivals in New England or Buffalo. The second quarter of the season meant that Williams was now on the field. His 70 carries are only 15 away from Miner. Fielder is also continuing his pretty average season in terms of stats. Now going through the third quarter of the season, Miami is now at 8-4 on the year, falling to only the 49ers during this stretch. Williams had yet to have a huge breakout game, but against the Cardinals he did manage 90 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns, one of them in the air. The following week against the Seahawks, he got his first 100-yard game this year. In 8 games, Williams has eclipsed 600 yards on the ground but hasn't gotten into the end zone too much. Once again, Fielder not phenomenal, but he doesn't have to be. At the final quarter of the season, Miami managed to get a 10-6 record. They may have lost to the Broncos, but once again, courage wore orange and beat the Patriots. They did go 10-5, clinching a playoff berth with their win against the Browns, meaning all the starters were benched for the final game. AJ Feely finally got some playing time and looked good against the Ravens defense, but Fielder will still be starting going into the wild card game. Ricky Williams had a pretty good season considering he was on his snap count. The question is, will he still be on one in the playoffs? Their wild card matchup would be against the Baltimore Ravens. The previous week the backups played against them. This week was a different story, and Fielder made that known in the first quarter, throwing this beauty to David Boston to give them a 10-0 lead. Later in the first, at the 11, a handoff to Williams, giving him his first touchdown in the playoffs ever. They're leading 17-0 by the end of the first quarter. The Ravens aren't a team to give up and quit. Bowler with play action and finds someone in the back of the end zone to get their first score on the day. With under 2 minutes left in in the half, Bowler throws one deep to Taylor, the defender misjudges the pass, and that one goes all the way to close the gap in the score. Miami somehow managed to get not one but 2 field goals before half to extend their lead 23-14 into the third. All season long, Ricky Williams has been on a snap count to stay fresh, and this is why he broke off the 63-yard run and they keep extending the lead 29-14. After a failed 2-point conversion, the Ravens can still stay in the game, but Freeman jumps the pass, bringing it back to the house to make it 36-14. That wasn't the final dagger in the game. Ricky Williams would do it with this 12-yard run to make it 43-14. The Ravens did manage to get a garbage time touchdown, but too little too late, and Miami will be moving on to the divisional round. They play against the 14-2 New England Patriots. Keep in mind they split their series with them this season. They're still the underdogs and will need everything to go their way. If this fumble returned for a touchdown off a muff catch wasn't enough to make you believe Miami might have a chance today, I don't know what will. At the start of the second quarter, Miami is up 10-0. New England at midfield. A sack, fumble, and picked up by Patrick Surtain. Nobody will catch him, and just like that, Miami has a 17-0 lead just like last week. But this is New England. They're not known to fold under pressure. In the red zone, Brady finds Branch to get them on the board today. In the third now, Miami is up 27 after another field goal, but Brady once again finds Branch in the end zone to make it 20-14. We haven't heard much from Williams, but that all changed here when he broke a tackle and took it to the house. Second time in this playoff run that he broke a 60-yarder for a score. After another field goal by Miami to go up 30-14, New England has a 4th down in the red zone, handing it off to Dillon, who would fall short of the first. They also failed a second time just outside the red zone. How would this game have been if it weren't for all the mistakes on New England's part? Either way, Miami is moving on to the AFC Championship. One game away from the Super Bowl. Last week they made every mistake by New England count and pulled the upset off this week against the Chargers. Can they do the same? On the first drive for San Diego, Madison picks off Breeze and takes it to the house for the first points on the day. Looks like they're doing the same. In the second quarter, Miami up by 10 now. Fielder finds Chambers for a nice deep pass to get them close to the red zone. On the next play, Rob Conrad carries the ball all the way down to the 1-yard line. Then a few plays later, Fielder finds Boston to go up 17-0 for the third straight week. The Chargers did manage to kick a field goal twice to cut the lead 17-6 before half. In the second half, the Dolphins have the ball to start it. Fielder finds Thomas on the sideline, and just like that, they keep putting up points. They are now up 24-6. Later in the third, Dolphins have the ball near the red zone, and Fielder throws a dime over 2 Chargers to get a hat trick with his 3rd touchdown on the day. Believe it or not, the Dolphins were not done. Near midfield, Fielder decided 3 touchdowns wasn't enough and finds David Boston behind the defense, his 2nd on the day and 4th for Fielder. That was the nail in the coffin, and Miami now finds themselves going into the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is being hosted in Jacksonville, Florida. I do want to pause the video quickly and say I did not plan on Madden thinking Miami was a Super Bowl team. I thought they were going to go 8-8, miss the playoffs, doing another video, but I can't predict Madden logic. 2 of the top 5 worst teams this season meeting in the Super Bowl. I do have a plan for part 2, but I just didn't expect it to go this way. So here's the Super Bowl, with the AFC being represented by the Miami Dolphins and the NFC being represented by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's too perfect. For those of you who might think this would be a high-scoring affair, the defense had other plans. It wasn't until late in the second quarter where Fielder threw this pass to Boston to get them into scoring range. Then on the next play, he found the lead to put up the first points in the Super Bowl. The Buccaneers did manage to march down the field enough to get into field goal range and end the first half 7-3. In the second half, Williams found a crease and broke through, but this Buccaneers team is too quick, and even though he broke 3 tackles, he wasn't able to outrun them all. It did spark the offense, and Fielder would find Conrad over the middle to just get outside the red zone. A few plays later, 3rd and inches, instead of running with Ricky, they throw and dropped by Chambers in the back of the end zone, forcing Miami to kick the ball to take a 10-3 lead. Miami was set to get the ball back on a punt return, but the team seemed to have a case of the drops, as a muff ball on the return would give the Buccaneers another chance. Tampa Bay would march their way down just inside the 10, and Johnson rolls to his right, finds Lee, and ties the game up at 10. Near the end of the third, Miami was able to get 3 to give them a lead going into the fourth. And we now go to the final minute of the game. Buccaneers ball at the 44, Johnson finds McCardell for the first down. Third down, Johnson finds his receiver for another first down and into field goal range. They run the clock down and attempt a field goal. The ball is up and the game is going to go to overtime. Tampa Bay would get the ball first in overtime. Johnson has been on fire since the final minute of the fourth, and this drive was no different, finding Lee over the middle to get to midfield. On 3rd and 2, Miami has a chance to get the ball back, but they can't stop Gardner from getting the first. A play later, Johnson finds Clayton, who breaks the tackle and gets into the end zone to win the game. Ricky Williams wasn't able to get a ring, but he did finally make a Super Bowl. I don't believe this would be the end of Williams' journey. His Madden 05 season was very similar to his 2005 season when he returned. There will be a part 2 to the series. If you enjoyed the video, please press that like button. Comment if you have any what if scenarios. I only really know stuff about the Miami Dolphins, but I would love to know more about your favorite team. And if you haven't already subscribed, I mainly do football videos here on the channel, and I'll see you all in the next video.